Hi, it's Juliet Loves Beginning with a talk called The Foundation of Peace. This one comes with a song, which I will try to remember to link in the description. It's Michael Jackson's I'll Be There. Okay, so the first statement is whenever there seems to be a problem, you perceive a conflict between two opposing forces. So health and sickness, for example. And what was really emphasized to me is the idea of people coming into the mind, that if there's any degree of judgment or defensiveness when we think of someone, and of course the same goes for when we believe we're physically with them too, but I've been guided to kind of start at the source, start at the beginning, start at how I think about people. So when someone comes to mind and there's any degree of judgment, analysis, limitation, deciding who they are and who they aren't, anything like that, if there's anything like that going on, there is a conflict between opposites. Maybe they're too much of something. Maybe they're not enough of something, but there are opposites at play there. Maybe I perceive them as giving me something I don't want. Maybe I perceive them as trying to get something from me. Maybe I perceive it as I am obligated to give them something. Whenever there's any tiny bit of disturbance or tension in the mind, as I think of somebody, underneath it is this whole idea that opposites are possible. That there could be too much, that there could be not enough, that there's a lack, that someone has more and someone has less, that just the idea that opposites are possible. And we made this world to pretend that opposites are possible. So we used thought to make this experience where it seems obvious that opposites are real. Only this experience, while real for us, and we're never supposed to deny how real it seems for us, it's an attempt to deny the truth of no conflict. There's peace forever. And that's the nature of the one I'm thinking of. The one I'm thinking of, or the one I seem to be with, their true nature is peace forever. Oh, and look, the title of this is The Foundation of Peace. And that means because their true nature is peace forever, my true nature is peace forever. So what about all this activity and conflict and I see on the surface of things that I would try to judge positively or negatively compared to other things? What about all this? It's then I can see I don't know the first thing about it. And as I'm going to be dreaming it, I definitely needed to be guided through it. And that opens me up for the set of thoughts from Spirit that would guide me through and out of this stream of conflict to become obvious to me. Because as I know, the conflict-based thoughts are meaningless and take me further into hell, which nobody wants. And it's an idea that we're subject to the opposites that seem to be in this world. Nobody wants that. As I remember that we're actually peace together. We're joined forever. And this whole mess on top of it, I don't know anything about it, but I can be shown. I can't really judge any of it. I can't pick out a separate part of it and judge it and have it mean anything, but I can be shown the way. Thoughts from Spirit that guide me can become obvious. So we can give thanks for that. Okay, you always see what you want to see. So if I'm focusing on the conflict on the surface, on the seeming sets of opposites on the surface, and I occupy and entertain myself with the appearance of that, and I listen to all ego's commentary about the meaning and value of all the things we seem to see and experience that are based on the idea of opposites, I'm just kind of lost in what I wanted to see. I wanted to see something that's not possible, a representation of something that's not possible. Enter time and space to show that to me and to show me conflict. I can see that, right? Because I invented this place here to see that. And I can get lost in thinking it's real, believing it's real, believing I'm subject to it, believing it can hurt me and it can and will hurt everybody else. Fun. Okay. Or I can look underneath the surface and I can see what I want to see. I can see spirit is here. I can see we're unified forever. I can see the true nature of everyone is joy forever. No matter what the conflict I put on top of it would show me. I can see with my spiritual eye. Everything's actually okay. Every being is loved, and that can never change. Every being is lovable. That can never change. And this is not based on an ego analysis of the conflict I'm seeing and experiencing. Ego love would come from that. I deem you worthy of love, so I give it to you, and you're fortunate to have it. No. Underneath the surface of the conflict I wanted to see, everyone is loving. Every being is loving. And it doesn't matter if I look at a being showing up within this picture of conflict and they look like they're unloving. It means zero. It means just as little as somebody who gets praised for being the most loving one. Because those two aren't separate, and they're not separate from me. The most important thing is that we remember what we could see instead of what we wanted to see. We wanted to see conflict and chaos because of a little thought that came in, kind of like, what would not harmony be like? And then we started to see that. And so, yeah, in a fantasy, in a dream, in a hallucination, we can see conflict, we can see opposites. But we can also want to see our true nature. And then reflections come in to our experience that make our true, shared, safe, benign nature obvious. And that's what we can invite in when we set down the thoughts of the ego and we realize, oh, this is just meaningless commentary about the surface of conflict and opposites I asked to see. Okay, good to know. Set that aside, then Spirit's thoughts can become obvious to us, and they show us the way through this. And they remind us the whole time we are whole, we are united, we are joined underneath the surface of separation. And that is our saving grace. That's what gets us through this, and that is love, the fact that we're joined. We are love, and love joins us. That is actual love. Okay. Just the idea. Love is not anything anyone needs to earn. No matter how anyone seems to be being treated here, and on the surface of conflict, I ask to see, they are loved. They've always been loved, and there's never been a moment when they haven't been loved. And to come into the awareness of that is to see that for everyone. And to focus on that is to call forth those thoughts that are truly calm, truly peaceful, and make everything obvious to us. Okay, the true will of anyone in any situation is the will for peace. So again, I'm taken to the level where the idea of someone comes into my mind. I'm been working more there lately because it can be very distracting when you're physically with people to try to keep up with this work and not get lost in ego judgments and so if I practice when no one's here but I notice they have come to mind, then when I seem to be physically with them, it's easier to stay in the sane space of not getting carried away with an ego thought. So I practice when it seems no one is there, almost no one. And then I'm ready for when it seems there are a lot of someone's there. Because the ego will go crazy defending and judging. Okay, let's see. The true will of anyone in any situation is the will for peace. So let's put us in a situation with several people. And let's say we're having a conversation. And that conversation can be like a jostling for attention, recognition, or an arguing, or it can take many forms. Or even if it's positive, we pick out special forms and we say, oh, this is good, implying that something else is bad, and that is good, implying something else is bad. So how do we get through a conversation if everything we made here is based on the idea of opposites? Well, with Spirit to give us all our words, that's how. So we learn to look within and say, okay, what am I supposed to say here? If anything, maybe I could just sit quietly and just remember what's here and remember how much everyone is loved. Maybe I could just sit here quietly and understand that while I'm seeing conflicting and opposing wills on the surface, this one seems to want that thing and the other one seems to want that thing, they actually share a will for peace. And they share that with me. And that's the most real thing about any of us. I could just sit here in that space, and then if I'm supposed to say something, it will be obvious and clear and easy. But if not, I can either occupy and busy myself with thoughts from ego, describing and judging and analyzing everything that seems to be around me, or I can allow thoughts from Spirit to come to me. So I always have those two options. And no matter who I'm with, their actual will is for peace. And the more I remember that, the more I can sit and rest in not the will ego would give me, which is a will for this thing opposed to that thing. I want this and I don't want that. And that's where defensiveness comes in. I don't want that, so I must put up a barrier to it. And I'm definitely still engaged in that. And every day is the day to uncover and let it melt. So when I'm recognizing that your true will is the will for peace, I'm recognizing that's mine too. And I can sit in it and rest in it and let all my thoughts and ideas come from that place. Okay. Any sense of competition is fake. This can emerge in a conversation. And it can certainly emerge when you're all by yourself and someone comes to mind, and the judgments and analysis of ego, trying to put them higher or lower than anyone else, trying to categorize them, put them in a hierarchy, compare them. We can say nice things about people in our minds, but we're comparing them. We can notice that. So any sense of competition is fake. And the true will for peace is underneath that. So when anybody comes to mind today, I can, with intention, remind myself they have a true will that they share with everyone, with no exceptions. And that's the will for peace. So instead of anything else ego would suggest to me about them, or myself, or anyone else in comparison to them, or anything else, you could even say your toothpaste has a will for peace. Anything you can pick up and call separate. It has a will for peace. And that's its actual state. Under the surface of conflict, I asked to see, and I am now experiencing, the actual state or condition of my tube of toothpaste, or of you, or of some other guy who came to mind. Anything you could call separate is the will for peace. And as I sit in that, I activate it and make thoughts from Spirit available to me to guide me. And as I sit in that, I activate it and make thoughts from Spirit active and obvious to those I would call other. That's the power all of us have, to make sane, peaceful, loving thought obvious and available to everyone that we think of as other, because They are us. There's one being, and there seem to be many people that reflect back to us a split in mind. But we can allow that split in mind to be healed. And as we focus on the true will we share, we really do share it and make it obvious to others. Does that mean I should demand in some situation that somebody instantly reflect back to me what my ego would call a will for peace and then judge it if it doesn't happen? No, because no matter what surface I ask to see, believing that I wanted to be entertained and distracted by the sight of opposites and conflict, no matter what it was, I can see now what's underneath that, and that is the will for peace that we all share. How will that resolve itself in time and space? I don't know. As a separate ego, I don't know specifically, but I don't have to. Tuning into the shared will for peace is enough. I don't need a plan. There's already a plan. It just needs our attention. So the plan for the full return to peace for all of us, that is already in place, that no separate ego made up, that plan's already right here. And as we just tune into our shared will for peace, that plan unfolds. So it's very easy, it's very obvious, and it's very available to everyone right now. It just takes some attention and some willingness. And the more attention and willingness we give it, the more it expands. Becomes obvious and easy, thank goodness. A big sigh of relief. Okay. What is fake is just a display, just a show of what cannot ever be real. So time and space. It is a display, it is a show. In Macbeth, Shakespeare called it a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. It starts tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, creeps at its petty pace from day to day. A little bit of a downer. And I can't quite remember it. Something to dusty death. Out, brief candle, life's but a walking shadow. A poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage. I forgot the last part. Anyhow, it pretty much describes this, but it's okay. Macbeth doesn't have to go into despair over realizing this. Like, this is meaningless. This is a meaningless show here. It's just a show of conflict that we ask to see. And if we think someone else in our dream, our hallucination, is causing the conflict, we're going to stay keeping ourselves subject to it as a body that's going to die because of the conflict between health and sickness, or well-being and injury, however the body seems to go. We're not the body, but while we believe we're the body, we can allow the show of conflict to be used by spirit to reflect back to us that we're safe and we're loved. And no, we don't know exactly how it unfolds, but we can give our shared and true will for peace our attention. It takes a moment and a breath, and the relief we feel in remembering, oh, this is what's real here, not the show of conflict on the surface. That means I don't have to react to the conflict I believe I'm seeing. I don't have to analyze it. I don't have to judge it. I don't have to invent a way out of it. To see the plan for the return of full awareness of peace to all of us, to see that unfold, we only have to give peace our attention and to recognize that it's the true nature of everyone we call else, with no exceptions, and that's why it's our true nature. Now, if we're going to analyze the conflict that we ask to see on the surface, we're going to get lost analyzing nothingness. We don't have to do that. We just have to remember what's most real under the surface. Okay, Sit humbly at the feet of the one with you. That means anybody who comes to mind. So if you're by yourself, it doesn't matter. Or anyone who actually seems to be physically with you. No matter who it appears to be, sit at their feet. When you sit at their feet, you sit at their foundation. Everyone's shared foundation is peace. And peace is the same thing as joy and love and truth and grace. They're all the same thing. They're all you. And if they're you, they're that other guy. So sit at the other guy's feet because you're sitting at their foundation. You're sitting at the truth of them. And we have every reason to be happy about our shared truth. So when there's conflict up on the surface, who cares? It's a dream I ask to see. Do I have to be reactive to it? No. If there's a part for me to play on the stage, it gets made obvious in my mind, and it's very easy to carry out my part. Carrying out my part, I don't carry it out in the sense that I'm right and I'm showing everybody the way. I don't carry it out in the sense that there's an emergency and I have to panic and fix things. I don't carry it out in the sense that I have to keep inventing solutions to the endless problems that keep popping up. No, I just carry it out because it's obvious and easy and given to me. Thank goodness, what a relief. So sit humbly at the feet of the one with you, no matter who it appears to be, whoever comes to mind. Sit at their feet. Sit at our foundation of peace. And then the faith builds that by sitting here, anything you need to say or do is obvious and easy to carry out. Okay, wishing you peace today and happy healing. Thank you.